Welcome to the Career Refresh Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Griffin. I'm a former media and marketing executive turned career strategist and executive coach. I spent my career working my way up and through the ranks of global organizations and startups, and today I show others how to do the same. Join me each week as we discuss the strategies and actionable steps to leverage your strengths, increase your confidence, and develop your career well-being. Ready? Let's do it. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Jill Griffin. As the calendar year is totally winding down, it's a time where I know I always like to take inventory of things. I look at goals, the ones I've had, but lately I've been thinking about things in cycles or phases, and with that, endings. So this podcast is about those cycles, in which I call seasons, but I'm also, stay tuned, because I'm also planning on doing a podcast on endings and necessary endings. Like, do I leave my job? Do I leave this experience? And how to really think through that with executive decision making. So when I talk about cycles, as I mentioned, I'm really talking about seasons. And this got me thinking, what are the seasons in your career? Or of your career? Where are you in the seasons of your career? There's that song in the 60s by the Byrds, right? It's that turn, 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 and I'm not going to sing for you. But the lyrics say that every time, there's a time for everything. There's a season for every activity. There's a time to be born and a time to die. It goes on to say there's a time to keep and there's a time to throw away. There's a time to search and a time to give up, a time to be silent and a time to speak. You get the idea. There's a time for everything. And seasons are really a part of life. And each new season, we get to grow and thrive professionally and personally. So when I think about mindset, a fixed mindset would say, well, I need more experience before I up-level or go after that executive opportunity. Another fixed mindset might also say, you know what, I'm nearing the end of my career, so I really need to make decisions based on, I only got a few good years left of that reality. And there are seasons in your business and life, but it's not based on age, tenure, or title, my friends. It's cyclical. We all have springs and we all have winters. And it all may happen even within the same quarter. And you can't treat all seasons the same. You need to pivot and refresh your approach depending on which season you're in. I grew up on Long Island outside of New York City, and that area way out on the East End is a ton of farmland. And it's where my husband and I have a home, a country home now. And if you've ever lived or observed a farming community and farmland, you've then watched the sowing, the growing, the flourishing, the lushness, harvesting, and the winterizing of land. And you've seen how a farm is cared for throughout the season. You might even be farming yourself. I mean, when I worked for Martha, I learned more about gardening and farming and caring for the land than I ever thought was possible. But the seasons, again, they're cyclical, and you learn from each action. Each season prepares you for the next season. And each season has its duties. So if you think about spring, the theme is about sowing or planting seeds. It's about beginning. Things are born, they begin to grow, they're precious, they may be fragile, they come to life. Ideas are popping, they're brewing. This can be the beginning of your career. It could also be the beginning of an opportunity or a project or an experience. It's the start of a new job, a shift in company leadership that impacts your reporting structure. This is a time to be making calls, meeting people, investing in both human and financial resources. And that might be, if you are leading a department, making a pitch to increase your budget allocation. It might also be a time to invest in your personal development. It's going to start with networking and building relationships, but it's planting those seeds perhaps with another industry leader, so whom you feel like you can partner with. Very often when we're doing that networking, it's not about an opportunity today. It's about building those relationships so that in the future, you're both top of mind for each other. This season is about pacing yourself. There's a lot of work to be done, but if you approach it frantically, other people are going to sense it. And you're going to be running out of fuel. There's that drill sergeant nature that's going to show up, which can lead to anxiety. And again, you may be pushing yourself into exhaustion. So the spring season is about setting up your career strategy based on your values, your skills, your strengths, and your beliefs, and then really creating a plan for what's next. Which brings us to the next season, summer. This is a theme, is all about growth. Things feel good. There may be actual growth in your business, in your career, in the department, depending on where you are orientated in summer. Things feel lush. They take root. And if you're thinking about farming, summer is a time of growth, watering, monitoring, managing, protecting. The summer of your career could be you've just passed the 6 months mark in an experience and things are really starting to gel. You're feeling really good. You're feeling in the flow. You're feeling in the zone. This is also about going further in relationships, maybe setting up new conversations for collaboration. People are starting to email and call you back. It could be being in an interview spree and having lots of ideas, lots of talking to people, lots of connections, and things are really feeling again, that lush, that growth. You could be leading an initiative and things are starting to come together. This phase of your career needs leadership coaching. It needs executive development in order, again, for you to manage and guide and nurture where you're going. And if you're not watching your career and your mindset here strategically, there can be a lot of missed opportunities of the low-hanging fruit. There could be things right in front of you, but you're not paying attention if you're not watching both your energy and your mindset. This is a time where I often see people pause their personal development and their professional development because they feel like everything is great and they don't really need the help right now. So they end up pushing themselves into an early winter. And we're going to also get into that, no worries. So eventually, it's really understanding that due to all this overgrowth and all of this opportunity and all this lushness, guess what happens next? Autumn. This again, you're still feeling in the flow, but this is about gratitude, appreciation, and you're ready for the windfall. You're ready for the harvest. This is a time to enjoy and celebrate. You're getting really clear on the pause that you're going to take because you want to take in your wins. When we don't celebrate our wins, there's a series of beliefs that will also, again, push you into an early winter. And these can show up as like, it's never good enough, or you're seeking validation or appreciation from others because you're getting it externally. And when you're getting it externally, you're going to always need it because I assure you, and if you've been listening for a while, I've said this to you before, at some point in your life, a primary caretaker or someone who was caring for you told you that you were wonderful and you were awesome and was giving you that appreciation and validation. And it meant something to you at the time. But if it was the salve or the balm that soothed all of those wounds, it would still work for you today. But what's happening is you constantly need that if you're getting it outside yourself. So this is a time to really reflect and think about what you've created and celebrate what you've created. And once you've done this, this is the time to call and get focused. What are you starting to shift into? You may see signs that things are starting to slow down. We begin to harvest and we prepare for winter, which, as Game of Thrones has told us, right? Winter is coming. This season is about mindset management. It's also about getting coached and up-leveling your performance and skills, getting that feedback, seizing opportunities, pivoting on projects. There may also need to be a little bit of an urgency or a little bit of massive action and expediency because you want to make sure that you take care of the harvest, the bounty, right? You want to make sure that you're really hauling in and working through those opportunities because if not, they're going to rot and they're going to fall away. So again, a time for massive action. It's a time to be efficient with your action. And you may pause some of the flow because you're deciding to harvest. You know what? There's enough going on right now. There's too many things on my plate. I really want to focus on these 2 or 3 opportunities and I want to get really clear. Again, the 2 biggest challenges that I see here is not preparing for winter. And this is anything from having your resources. Are you mentally preparing for when things get slow? Do you have mindset work that you're doing daily. Look, I'm far from perfect, but I am definitely hitting mindset work 5 out of 7 days a week so that I'm preparing for the winter. Because when a day comes where life takes over and life on life's terms means that I don't have time to do some of the mindset work that I want to do, I've built up enough of a practice, almost thinking about it like credits in the bank, right? I've built up enough that can carry me through either days that I don't do it or days that are extra hard. Recently, I spoke to a client and they were sharing how they were constantly struggling with their workload. And when we dug into the facts, we noticed that they had recently received great feedback from their CEO. Their CEO was acknowledging that they had enormous professional and personal growth, that their team contribution was spot on, but they decided to make that mean that they needed to continue to up-level their growth. Meaning they kept thinking that every day they need to have that growth, right? That hockey stick we love to see on growth charts, right? No, it doesn't work that way. There's an ebb and a flow. And sometimes we backslide because we're human. We're not machines. It's when we put a level of pressure on ourselves that backslides are not evaluated. We're not looking at what the facts are here. And then suddenly we're operating from stress. And guess what? We're then in a more prolonged backslide, which will also push you into an early winter. Okay, getting into winter. Winter is about transition and reflection. Look, everything dies. That's the season. And there's still work to be done. Winter is about reconciliation of your accounts, of your accomplishments. It's evaluating, looking, reviewing your successes and what you can learn from failures. There's an analysis of a post analysis, right, of the activities. This time can be slow because we may not be getting a lot of external activity, but it is a strategic time for rest and reflection. For me, it's not pushing when my brain is saying, you don't have the answer yet because you're still baking. This is a time for more resting, more meditation, journaling, listening to great music. It might also be reading a book where I always joke that I'm not learning anything. I'm always learning something, but it might be going to a fiction book versus reading a business book or a book on professional development. This is a time of rest, but we are not sleepy. Again, there is still work to be done. We begin to think about our goals for next spring. We're charting them. We're asking ourselves, what is it that we need to do? This is a great time to get clear on your non-negotiables for next season. Thinking through your health, nutrition, spiritual and mental and physical. What do you want? What do you want for your work hours, your family, your friends, the people you love, social activities? When are you working? When are you playing? All of it, doing this time planting based on the data that you have from the previous seasons. This is where you're really thinking about through how your mindset and motivation ensures that you have the thoughts that are going to propel you into the action you want to create. This is the hallway. You're in the waiting game. The waiting is going to take over. It could be the beginning of a new administration, the reorganization within a company you're waiting for. You're sort of waiting to see as things fall out. It may even be the severance package that you've heard murmurings of and you're expecting to have come. So look, we know that sometimes when things peel away, this could be, again, talk of hiring freezes. This can also be talk about you're supposed to get a raise, but where actually is it? And this, again, is a time where you're reviewing. It could be that you got a less than ideal personal review and suddenly you're in a winter. So you are reflecting, you're pushing through, you're really thinking through what it is that you want to create next based on the data that you have. I recently had a former client re-engage me to begin to work through her current winter. And she said that she has not been doing mindset work or the networking and that she feels bad and that she's not really mentally prepared to enter this next phase of reflection and transition in her career. She is in a career winter. So we began working on investigating her beliefs, resetting beliefs, and really getting clear on how she's going to refresh that career strategy so that she knows what to do when we start to move into spring. So what season is your career in right now? And again, it has nothing to do with age, tenure, or title. It has to do with mindset and method. the methods and actions you are taking to continue to move you through the various cycles in your career. So as we wind down the calendar year, you may be in summer. So how do you want to spend the lushness of this time of growth? And when you create a career strategy and manage your plan for all cycles, you will then see how you can use each season of your career for its benefits. This is the work I do with clients. We get really clear on what they want to create. We get clear on their goals. We get clear on their executive presence. And based on those goals, I coach their mind. What are we removing? And what are there perceived obstacles that are in their way? We then get into action. And this is where I'm supporting and helping you strategize every step of the way. I built my practice based on what I wanted and needed. What if I could run a business strategy or an approach to a difficult challenge by a person who could help me manage my mind and see what I'm not seeing and then really help me take a fresh approach? Right? I was such an anxious achiever, and I would have saved myself so much time and stress if I had someone to help me through this. I've been there, and I can help you navigate your career and create what it is that you want. And if this sounds like you, schedule a free consultation. The details are in the show notes. They're also on my website, jillgriffincoaching.com, and we'll spend some time together and see what's possible. All right, friends, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for listening to the Career Refresh podcast. If you're enjoying this and you want more information, go to my website, jillgriffincoaching.com. There you can find information on how to work with me one-on-one or my group programs, or even bring me into your workplace. I'll put the link to my website in the show notes. But hey, listen, before you go, do me a favor, rate and review this podcast because it definitely helps me get the word out to people everywhere so that they can also thrive in the workplace. All right, friends, I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.